Welcome to the Win, Make, Give podcast. This is Ben Kinney, and we are deep into season 2, which is all about winning. Today, I am joined, like normally, with Chad Hymes and Bob Stewart.
Hello.
Ben Kinney, how you doing?
They're so gracious and kind. Ladies and gentlemen, we are starting a brand new series today. We are calling it The Traits of a Winner. Ooh. Now, we discussed this early on. However, we are deep diving. Now, Chad, as I understand it, we're going to do a lesson on each one of the traits, like today.
Correct.
Right, today we're talking about
practice.
Ooh, exciting.
Yes.
And we are going to interview experts that we believe exhibit, have experienced, or are the best representation of these traits of a winners. Without telling us their names, give us some examples of some of the people that we're interviewing throughout the series.
Oh, Ben, this is exciting. We have a gold medal Paralympic winner.
Wow, cool.
Yeah.
Awesome.
We've got an astronaut.
Whoa, out of this world.
3 times in space. This episode will be out of this world when you get to that interview. Firefighter, Army Ranger, professor, every trait.
Surgeon?
And a surgeon, yep. Every trait, what we did is we went out and we found someone that we thought exhibits that trait of a winner.
Okay, so today, trait 1 is all about practice. Now, Bob, you big dictionary nerd, the word practice actually
Dave's over
a
here.
noun.
Hold on. I have this crushed ice in the bottom of my drink, and before we went on, I was saying that it had almost got me. You know, it like forms up in the bottom, and then you go to drink out of the glass, and then it just got me, Dave, didn't it? Man, I just dropped pop all over. All right, sorry. Where are we at? A dictionary definition of practice? Practice?
He needs to practice drinking a little bit more.
Hey, Bob, get back on task.
All right, I'm on task. I'm here.
Practice, it's a noun.
It's a noun, and it's a verb. The noun is the actual application or use of an idea, belief, or method as opposed to theories relating to it. That would be like a doctor's practice.
Okay,
right?
Cool. So the verb.
That's not, this is what we're talking about today, the verb of practice, which is to perform an activity or exercise a skill repeatedly or regularly in order to improve or maintain one's proficiency.
The goal of practice, in my mind, gentlemen, is to create mastery. Mastery is when there's this connection between your brain and that activity. You don't even have to think about it. It just happens.
Yep.
Whether you're, as Bob's going to talk about today, throwing a free throw.
Yes.
I think that's a basketball
Very
term.
good, Ben. Very good.
Yeah. Or
some of us throw it. Ben throws his free throws. Others of us shoot them, but
is that really? I was just say it.
We're splitting hairs.
Leave him alone.
Practicing our scripts.
Yes.
Right. Sales, leadership.
Practicing driving. Now we don't think about it because we've mastered it because we've practiced it hopefully long enough.
Okay.
Yep.
Whatever your craft is, Dave in the background as he's practicing playing his guitar, those sort of things. The goal is mastery. How do we become the best at what we do? Now, in Annie Bossler's and Don Green's TED Talk, they said the repetition of an action with the goal of improvement. That is the definition of practice.
I thought that was like the most simple, just concise definition that we found. There's 1,000 definitions out there, and everybody's got their opinion on what practice is. I thought that was a really concise definition.
Say it again.
Concise.
No, say the line again, you knucklehead.
The repetition of an action with the goal of improvement.
Say it again, Chad.
I love it. The repetition of an action with the goal of improvement.
What is practice? It's the repetition of an action with the goal of improvement.
Yeah.
I imagine if you, like for me, if I continued to throw a basketball at a hoop.
Sure.
Shoot.
No, he throws it. Let's be honest.
Most likely, I would be just as bad after 1,000 times practicing than I was in the beginning because I didn't have the goal of improvement. I wasn't adding all these different tactics that we're going to share today to make that compounding effect of things getting better over time.
You know, we've said it in another episode, and it's interesting because one of the people we interview for this series heard it on the podcast and said he really loved when I threw this one at you. It's not that practice makes perfect, right? It's practice makes permanent. And like Ben is saying, if he's just throwing the ball, that's going to make it permanent how he does that. It's perfect practice makes perfect. And we have to practice with the goal of improvement, like this quote says.
So we like to study like the physiological ways things work. We like to study our brains. And Bob went down this gigantic rabbit trail after spilling soda all over himself, where he went and he learned about the brain and how practice relates to it. So Bob, in your best words, without completely confusing all of us,
All right, here we go.
walk us through the brain and
I
practice.
didn't do very well in the life sciences, in high school, and I totally ignored them in college. This is a little bit complex, but essentially what happens is when you do an action, and we'll relate it to Dave playing the guitar because I think it's easier to kind of visualize there. What happens when Dave's playing his guitar and he's trying to find the right note or he's trying to get his fingers in the right position? The gray matter in his brain is sending electrical impulses along axons to the muscles. And so think of it as like a wire, right? We've got a wire from our brain down to our muscle. It's called an axon. And the instructions for what Dave's brain is telling his fingers to do are being sent on that axon. These axons are covered by a myelin sheath, similar, Chad, to like the insulation on an electrical cord.
Okay.
Right?
Yep.
So studies have shown that the energy of the brain is contained by these myelin sheaths as it's sent down the axon. And it's been proven that practice will actually make these myelin sheaths bigger. And so what you end up with is more insulation along this axon so that as the thing that your brain is telling your fingers to do, the more practice, the less that signal gets messed up, jumbled, or changed in any way from the brain to the fingers. And so the more practice, the more your myelin sheath develops, the more that electrical impulse will get the precise delivery of what the brain was trying to tell the fingers to do in this particular example.
So you're saying, Bob, the more and more and more we practice, the thicker the outside of this cord is getting. So instead of having the cord that I plug my iPhone into that within about a week is frayed and you can see right through it and you're hoping you don't short yourself out, it's more like one of those outdoor plugs, and it's nice and thick because we've practiced and made it stronger.
That's right. And so your brain is actually getting more efficient at sending the right signal or the right instructions to the muscle. I mean, that could be your tongue, right? Like your brain to your tongue, like that. There's an axon there that's sending that signal to the muscle of your tongue, or it could be to your arms, or in Ben's example, when he's throwing his free throws, right? It's what his hands are doing, or what
shoulders,
position his elbows
everything.
in, where his shoulders are at, right? And you think about how many signals your brain is sending when you do something really complex, like play the guitar. You got two hands that you're trying to control, right? Like, so that's how practice physiologically improves our brain and allows us to be more efficient at the activity we're doing.
So it's bringing us back to that mastery you were talking about, Ben, because the thicker this sheath on this cord gets, the less we have to think about it because that message is being sent and we're getting the action done.
Axons, myelin sheaths, more energy, brain, better, practice.
Good.
Yeah.
Okay. It's good.
Okay, I got this. So here's the gist. We're trying to have effective practice.
Yes.
Not just Ben throwing a basketball at a hoop. No, we want effective practice. Now, Bob, you said that was
consistent, intensely focused, and targeting content or weaknesses that lie at the edge of your current ability.
I've seen people that continue, let's take the gym, like the guy at the gym that continually lifts the 135-pound bench press ever for the rest of his life. That's like all he's ever done, and that's all he'll ever do because he's not pushing the practice to the edge of his current ability. Is that a good analogy?
Yeah, and if you think about what does practice lead to, ultimately growth, and we talk all the time about growth really happens when you get on the edge of what you're comfortable with. So it's the same concept with practice. You should be kind of on the edge of what you're comfortable with or what you're capable of today.
Think about reading, Ben. I mean, when we're a kid, what do? We read again and again and again. There's that consistent, right? We're reading and we're attempting to get better at what those words are, and it develops our reading ability. And some people don't get that opportunity and have challenges they can't overcome. And then some become amazing readers that can read pages in minutes.
Yeah, it makes sense. So what we found in our research is that there are actual skills and tactics that you can put into place to be more effective at practicing.
Yes.
So that's what we're going to talk about for the rest of today's episode. Tactic number one, it's very important that you control the environment or the atmosphere.
And even beyond that, the closer you can make that atmosphere, Ben, to the environment in which you'll actually perform, the better.
So that's why Tiger Woods hits the ball on the tee when he was practicing. This is the old thing that Tiger was doing, right? He would hit on his driving range, and then he would actually walk in place like he was walking to the ball. He's practicing, okay, before my next hit, I'm going to have to walk however many steps to get to where that lands.
Yeah, that's real dedicated practice right there. I would just get up there and just hit 100 balls right in a row. That second shot having no relationship to any shot I'd ever hit on a golf course later on.
Right.
He literally takes every shot during practice and the setup to the shot. He tries to emulate the atmosphere of when he's actually out there.
Okay. It's like in boot camps, like
yes.
military, when they're using rounds and they're shooting and they're throwing grenades and they're trying to get these men and women to react and train in the atmosphere that they would actually have to experience if they were going to war.
That way they don't react because they've trained with that feeling in that situation.
You know, you've probably seen the same thing as Chad's the healthy one in the group here. For people who only run on a treadmill and then go outside and try to compete in a race.
Yep.
Yeah.
By the way, if you're gonna run on a treadmill for that purpose, 2% incline, that simulates the road. That's the biggest challenge they have.
So Bob, the next time you and I run on a treadmill, we'll make sure
I'll make sure to put that in my notes right here on my iPhone.
And Bob had a good one we were discussing earlier. He's a Seahawks fan. I'm not. I'm a Giants fan, and but he's a Seahawks fan. And one of the things the Seahawks are known for is that 12th man, that loud, the way the stadium's built and the atmosphere of the audience. So even when the audience isn't there, the fans aren't at a game.
They pump loud music into their practice facility. So, and during the beginning of the year, the Seahawks facilities are open. I've been down there to practice. It's loud. It's just as loud as it is in the stadium in there inside of their practice facility, and their offense and their defense. They're practicing and simulating that environment or that atmosphere that they're ultimately going to perform in.
When was the last time the Giants won the Super Bowl?
Oh, don't make me look up the
1986.
Date, no, it wasn't 86.
They won one after that.
We won it pretty recently,
yeah.
actually.
2012.
There you go.
2012.
It was, but in the last 5 years.
Eli Manning, he's a stud, Hall of Famer.
Maybe they need to do more practice because it's been 9 years.
They definitely need more.
Wait a minute. When was the last time the Seahawks won it?
2015.
Oh, dang.
After you.
You're welcome.
That's our only one, though.
Okay.
You've got 3.
Tactic number one, create the environment and atmosphere that you need to be successful for your practice, and make sure it matches the environment where you have to perform.
Yeah.
Right? I'll give an example in sales, how sometimes people take it to a kind of the wrong level. You'll see people that role play sales scripts all the time, and the other person sometimes just tries to be such a jerk, like they're always giving them the worst objections. And as I've witnessed this, they say, well, how would you handle that? I say, here's how I'd handle it. I don't work with that person. I don't role play sales strategies to work with people I don't like. Right. I role play to come up with solutions for people I care about. I'm not going to spend time and energy trying to come up with the perfect script to overcome the fact that this guy's a jerk. So for me, that environment, I'm not going to create a confrontational environment for my practice because I just practice not working with people like that.
That's a great choice you get to make in a smart practicing situation.
Now, what we found was there was a study of 160 students that they were able to maintain focus for only 6 minutes before becoming distracted.
That's amazing.
It's twice as long as Bob and I. So the second tactic for effective practice is eliminating distractions.
Oh my God.
And then setting a period of time that you are going to commit to only doing that one thing. Now, people spend too much time, well, go back to the gym. They spend too much time at the gym, 2 hours or 3 hours, not really doing much, when they would have been better off spending 15 minutes doing that one thing.
Sure. And they run around and tell everybody, I was at the gym for 2 hours today. But you're right. They didn't eliminate the distractions.
So we would rather have 6 minutes of focused role play in sales than 30 minutes of sitting around talking and gabbing and not really being productive.
Yeah.
So as you create your environment, you eliminate distractions. Part of that is you're going to pick the amount of time that you're going to commit to being in practice mode.
Our friend Jay in the book, The One Thing, Ben, they had a whole section on like,
Build your bunker.
well, yeah, build your bunker. And inside of that, they talk about like when you stop doing something, you're distracted, even if it's just to look at your phone for a second on some beep that came in on your phone. And we've all got those things coming in. It takes you all this time to get back into the flow of where you were to begin with. And it seems, it just took a minute, but it's
So you're
not.
talking switch tasking in that
switch
situation
tasks,
that's going
exactly.
on.
Look at how long it took Bob to recover from simply spilling the soda on him.
Yeah,
He can't
that's an
even
excellent
drink
point.
soda and do a podcast at the same time.
That was
tactic-
crushed ice. We need a better ice machine around this joint.
Tactic number 3 is the visualization. How do we practice in our minds? Now, Bob, tell us about another study we dug up.
Notice
So-
how Bob's studies are around basketball.
Yeah. I didn't mean for it to be that way. They just kind of turned out like this. So there was a study done on 144 college students, and they were trying to see what would happen if the difference between actually practicing and visualization. So they took these 144 students, they broke them up into 3 groups, and they wanted them to do one-handed free throws. So in the beginning, they took all 144 people, they had them shoot 100 one-handed free throws to see how many they would make. And then they broke the group up into 3. A third of the group, they didn't do anything. They didn't practice at all. They went home for the week or however long the study was. They came back and they shot another 100 free throws. They had a third of the group that practiced one-handed free throws. They went out every day for that week and they shot a certain number of free throws. And then they had one group that all they did is sit at home, and for that same amount of time that they had dedicated for the group to go out and shoot actual free throws, that group just sat at home and visualized making one-handed free throws.
So Ben did nothing for the week.
That's right.
You went out there and you shot for
That's right.
a half hour every day, just
Yep.
one hand, and I get to just sit there for a
You
half
sat at
hour
home
and think
in your head,
about shooting.
You thought about making one-handed free throws. So
Okay.
here's what happened. They bring them back and they shoot now. The whole group, they shoot again.
Yep.
They shoot 100. The first group,
Ben's
no
group,
surprise, Ben, he didn't improve at all.
Got it.
Okay. He didn't practice. He didn't do anything. He didn't improve. He had the same percentage of free throws made by that group. The other 2 groups, though, your group, Chad, you were out.
We
you
just
were
thought about it.
visualizing,
Yep.
and I was out shooting.
Right.
There was a negligible difference between the improvement both of us made. Your group made 24% improvement. My group made 23% improvement. So this negligible amount, I went out and actually practiced. You just visualized it in your head. And a week later, when we both showed up, we had both improved by essentially the same exact amount.
That's amazing.
So, actually, as part of our daily plan, which you can hear on a previous episode,
Yep.
step 1 of the daily plan is to visualize what winning tomorrow looks like. Like literally picture.
Yep.
I got home tomorrow and I was to give Bob and Chad a high five because I said, hey, I freaking won today. What will have happened? Visualization, such an important thing before you practice or even as a form of practice as we're
I don't remember if it
learning
was
here.
you or somebody in our real estate world had told me that every time they would go into a listing appointment, I think it was you. You said you would stop in your car and you would have this whole like visualization process in your head of what the win was going to be in that listing. You'd practice kind of going through it, the signing, like in your head, you could see all the way to the end to where they were signing the paperwork and you had a win there. That was just visualization, right? You were practicing what you were going to do when you walked in the door.
All right, next one. Frequent repetition with scheduled breaks. Elite performers break their practice routines up into chunks. They never practice for more than how long?
Well, 6 hours would be like too long.
No, yeah, way too long.
Somewhere in there,
you're
they're gonna
talking
break it
2
up, right?
hours is kind of
Yeah.
a max.
So they spend 1 hour practicing,
Yep.
then they re-energize themselves before committing to doing another practice.
Well, that sounds smart.
Yeah.
Doesn't burn me out on doing something for way too long.
Yeah.
So that's going to be Dave's going to pull out the guitar. He's going to practice for a half hour, an hour, put it away, go do a project, come back to it, give himself another half hour or hour. He's probably going to improve more than if he just took a 2 hour block and kept going.
What we found is that the best performers practice 3 times a day,
Ooh.
morning, afternoon, and evening,
Breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
in small chunks. Now, depending on what you're practicing, that may be possible. It may not be possible.
Sure.
But it's the same schedule that I use for reading. Is how do I read for 10 to 15 minutes every morning before I do anything? How do I take a break in the middle of the day to decompress? And at the end of the day, how do I do that? No, most of the time I'm reading about business or leadership or money or things that can help our world. That is me practicing in our space. But this could be anything. Role playing.
So this is our audience, some of our audience members that just wonder why they keep getting better at the video games they're playing sitting around on their phone, because they do it while they're having breakfast, they do it while they're having lunch, they're doing it while they're having dinner, and they're practicing it 3 times a day instead of putting that effort to reading, like you said, Ben, or practicing at a specific skill.
Yeah. Now, when you do that, when you have frequent repetition
Yep.
and you take breaks and you do it often, Bob, it creates this concept that you found called retrieval practice. What does that mean?
So it's basically the ability to bring information to mind from memory. And like this is essentially what we're taught this in school. This is how our school system works. Everything in our school system is retrieval practice, essentially, right?
Yep.
Like the way, look, and this might have changed. I haven't been in
The
school
memorization.
the
How do you say that
memorization,
word?
right? You think about your multiplication tables, right? Like
Yeah.
you're in there studying your multiplication table so that
Yeah.
later you can retrieve from your brain what 7 times 9 is, Chad.
6 and 8 went out to skate, came back as 48.
There you go.
Oh my goodness. No, keep me out of the 6, 7, and 8 multiplication table, Bob. So when you just, those, I never memorized those well enough.
No, you didn't get all the way to the
9
sevens.
I
eights,
could do, but not 6, 7, and 8.
Scripts would be a great example of this, right? This idea that like, that somebody says something, I know that I've got the answer to that thing somewhere in my memory. I just need to bring up the most effective and efficient answer. That's why we do scripts, right? So that we can have this ability to just retrieve these things at as we need them.
It's even like when you're driving, at some point your foot hits the gas and your foot hits the brake. And even I remember one time I was riding with my mom and there was this incident with a car in front, and her arm like immediately went in front of me to hold me back. My mom was a little woman, like she couldn't have held me back at that.
It's
that
the mom
size.
seatbelt.
My wife does that to me today.
It's the mom seatbelt.
Yeah. It's so it just happens without thinking. That's what we're trying to create. The next tactic is building momentum. How do we start out slow, careful, doing it right, then start repeating it, but making sure that we maintain the form or the exact content of the script or the exercise or how Dave's playing guitar, and then gradually increase the frequency and speed. It's important that we start off slow. That's the point of this one. And then build momentum over time. You don't want to stall out and just do the same 135-pound bench for the rest of your life. Right? Start out, build up.
Okay. What's after that one, Ben?
We want to call it habit stacking. Habit stacking, or as Bob found, interleaving, which is a horrible word. Bob, what does that mean?
He's mad at that word because he didn't know it existed. He wanted it to be
I
interweaving.
asked the same thing when we were talking beforehand.
both
I
some
thought you meant
word haters.
interweaving with a typo as well.
What is the thing in the Princess Bride? I don't think that word means what you think it means.
That's funny. You know what?
Inconceivable.
I was telling my therapist actually yesterday. I forget the word that I used. I can't remember, but I'm like, does that mean what I think it just means? I had to go look it up. I probably do that. I don't know.
Tell us
every
about
other
this
day.
interleaving, Bob.
So it's the jumbling up of ideas or what we practice. So for example, I'll go back to basketball, Chad, because you know I love it.
Yep.
You don't spend every practice shooting, right? You spend some practice time shooting threes, some shooting free throws, some different layups, and then you spend some practice time on your offense, right? So you can relate the shooting to a real game. So it's this idea that you're kind of jumbling up what you practice so that you can get the concepts as they kind of come together, right?
Okay.
If you were a salesperson, you wouldn't just practice your opening script, right? You'd have to practice your closing script a little bit, and you'd have to practice your
Conversational
demo in the
script
middle,
in the
and you'd have to, right? There'd be all these different kind of aspects of the entire thing. And if all you did is ever practice the opening script, right? Obviously it's not going to be effective.
Got it.
Math is like this, right?
Oh,
We don't
no.
learn math by repeatedly doing the same exercise over and over. We do a little bit of multiplication, a little bit of addition, we do some subtraction, and then ultimately it comes together and it's algebra or whatever.
It's important that we create a small habit and then add something to it and add to it. We call that habit stacking,
Yes.
right? And then you wake up and you can do, the whole exercise, or you can play the entire song, Dave, or right, whatever that might be. And it's better to get good at small pieces and then combine them all together and to see how strong that is. Like you're weaving all these pieces of fiber together and they actually become unbreakable. Lastly, we believe that the secret to effective practice is going to the last step, which is teaching it and sharing it. Or how do you get to the point where you're not just memorizing it, but you have the ability to explain and elaborate on the exercise or the content or the activity. It only happens when you go from using it in the classroom to explaining it to other students or to other people. Now, as you add all these tactics up, these are the secrets to becoming effective at practice. The only thing you have to remember to do is at some point reward yourself for doing a great job and make sure that you set little benchmarks of times where you get to sit back and high five and say, I actually did it. Now, Chad, how do we end all these?
Well, before we do, Ben, and before people turn it off and say, oh, that's good enough, Chad's at the ending part, we want to let everybody know what's coming later this week. So you mentioned at the beginning, Ben, that we're going to have interviews following this up under these same topics. And we're sticking with an athlete because who understands practice better? Now, Bob, you went basketball for a lot of our analogies today. We are going to be talking with a sitting volleyball Paralympic gold medal winner, Nicole Millage.
Wow.
Yeah. So on our next episode, don't miss it, because you're going to have Bob and I had the pleasure of sitting down to an interview with her.
We'll see how practice comes to life, right?
Yeah, in the
Like at a
life
really
of an
high
athlete.
level.
Yep, at a really, really high level. So until that episode, we sure hope that you've subscribed so it automatically shows up in your podcast feed. We hope you're joining us in our Facebook group, facebook.com/groups/win-make-give, so we can continue the conversation after these episodes have aired. And you can share with us the practice and the success you have drinking soda from a glass full of ice. Until our next episode, do good.